Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, January 12th. I skipped yesterday, gamed with my buddies after work. It's fun. We got far enough that I can finally put away all of the Dwarven Forge from the last month and a half's dungeon. Actually, some of it got put away middle of session, and I managed to repurpose one of the rooms into a new room that they went into later, which was a great feeling. But that's basically all that I got done yesterday. A little bit more decorations put away, working on that. Thinking probably want to try and do that over this week. So probably by the end of this week, or at least over this weekend, tree will be going away. But we'll get to it. But it's Tuesday, and last Tuesday I was like, I want to watch more movies. And I watched Pete's Dragon. And I want to watch more movies. And I mean, and during the week I definitely thought about, well, I could watch movies on other days. But also, it's not just that I want to watch more movies, like a higher number of movies this year. More specifically, it's that I want to watch movies more regularly. So if I were to, watch a movie one every week and watch 52 movies over the year, great. If I just, in the first couple of months, just decide I'm just going to watch movies and watch 52 movies and then don't watch any more movies for the rest of the year, that still wouldn't be meeting the same goal, even though it would be the same number of movies. Which is also part of the reason that it's not necessarily something so easy to say that I'm going to actually achieve this. But we're still early in the year. I can still keep working on it. And I got, movies, and of course I got the movies in there, and I picked one of those last time, and I'm like, let's pick something off of this shelf. And let's pick one of the ones that I'm like, maybe it's been 5 or 10 years since I've seen, because most of the movies on this shelf, it's been at least 5 to 10 years since I've seen. There's only a handful of them that I've watched more recently than that, because I don't watch movies a whole lot. That's the whole issue. But I'm like, let's pick one that I recall liking. And so I picked a few possibilities, some great movies, and I've made a decision. I'm gonna watch Ella Enchanted. Oh man, this is DVD, not Blu-ray. A lot of them are, of course, but my brain's like, oh yeah, that's just how my movies were. But I love this movie. This was cute. It was sweet. It was good enough, and it was, I guess, in high school. It was good enough that I watched the movie, and I went and bought the novel. I don't have any memories for whether or not that was any good, but I had to read a book in school, and I got to choose, and so I chose the one based on that because I liked the movie. But yeah, so I'm gonna heat up some leftovers from Second Christmas, and I'm gonna watch Ella Enchanted. And that is a very cute movie. I would give it 8.8 out of 10. It's basically, it's a modern fairy tale in its own right. It is its own fairy tale story, absolutely. And at the same point, it's a different take on the Cinderella story. It has its own fairy tale bits throughout. And Eric Idle is definitely one of the parts that I love. He's part narrator throughout. He steps in throughout the story and narrates part. And the movie is a light musical. It's not like a full-on musical. But it's got a few scenes with music tied within the scene. And then 2 further scenes where they just become full song and dance numbers. And I love musicals, so that definitely helps it. It's from 2004. And it definitely still has that kind of, that sort of feel about parts of it that I associate with the 90s. So, there's a bit of that, but I mean, that's where I was growing up, so that's just nostalgia for me, and I don't mind it. Anne Hathaway is, of course, enchanting. I mean, this is the primary movie that I know her from. Also from, The Dark Knight Rises. She's in that, and I'm sure I've seen her in a few other things. Brokeback Mountain, I think. I know her from a few things, but this is like the primary movie that I associate with her, I suppose. It's wonderful. It is Cinderella's story in that it's a girl whose father remarries. She ends up with a wicked stepmother and 2 wicked stepsisters who they want to marry the prince, whereas the prince falls for Ella. Cinderella. Like, that name, that is literally short for that. You just saw me realizing that for the first time. So I'm like, Ella, Cinderella. That's probably not a coincidence, is it? Despite all of that, he manages to end up with her. But there's all sorts of twists, primarily the fact that she is under a curse of obedience. If given an order, command, told directly to do something, she cannot say no. It's a curse from I want to say evil fairy, but really it's just idiotic fairy when she was born. Which, of course, is the subject through which the hijinks all ensue as one of her wicked stepsisters finds out about the curse and abuses it to do terrible things. And near the end, when the steward of the kingdom, the prince's uncle, who wants the crown, tries to use it to do terrible and terrible things. Most of the story is like an adventure story of her trying to find this fairy and get the curse removed. Which takes us through this enchanted fairy tale world. One that I love as someone that plays and runs D&D games, because it is a world of intermixed species, races. Because amongst the humans, you have the elves and the giants, and the ogres and the fairies. And they all have their own little societies, but they are nearby and have exchanges with each other. In fact, most of the story is really based around the fact that evil uncle, Carrie Ellis, does a great job, has been ruling the crown since the king's accidental death until the prince is ready to take over. And as such, he has been changing the laws and enacting all sorts of racist laws. Elves can only engage in professions that involve singing, frolicking, and tomfoolery or something like that. You know, the giants are basically enslaved to produce, crops. The ogres are hunted. And Ella is an activist who sees the need for change. She's the only one not smitten by this prince and his good looks. And he likes that. And it's a cute little romance story as they're kind of ending up on their adventure, because through wrong exchange of words, she can end up forced into a situation. She's really without free will. So she ends up traveling with him regardless of her disdain and does end up falling for him over time. It's a great... the first of the song and dance scenes is Somebody to Love by Queen. And it's at the giant wedding, and so they got like a table that they're singing. She's singing and dancing on, which is basically a stage with all the giants around. It's cute, but it sort of sets things up to just make the mood just right. Of course, the final song and dance is the end of the movie, is at their wedding. It's cute. It's got a lot of cheesy jokes, pulling up in a carriage that's labeled like a taxi. The prince and the steward, their first appearances, they have to go to a mall opening. There's just little modern references. It's very much tongue-in-cheek. But it's cute. And it's pretty in the coloring. It's got all the bright, vibrant colors. It's a fairy tale fantasy. Should watch it more. Although then again, it was one of the ones. It's like when I looked at all the different movies I might watch, it was one that definitely stood out. Of I want to see that again. I remember loving that, and I still do. And it's not just the prince and Ella who find love, but much of her journey, she's traveling with an enchanted book, who is the house fairy, the house fairy that had helped with raising her. Had accidentally turned her boyfriend into a book 20 years ago. So she's traveling with him. By the end, he gets turned back into a human. So they're able to be together. Our elf companion that follows along with the journey falls for one of the giant maidens. So they end up... It's lots of little... Everyone gets to be happy kind of thing. Everyone finds someone that's... And... I guess ultimately, through that journey, the journey is to find the fairy that put the curse on her and get her to remove it. And she keeps not finding her, and then she does. She finally gets to interact with her. She finally, by happenstance, she's right there. Please, remove the curse. And this, as I say, should be called evil, but we'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say idiotic fairy. Is like, nah, you do it yourself. When they basically said the only way to remove... that magic spell is if the fairy who granted it removed it. And she won't. Because she's evil. Idiotic. Evil. That's the villain. So, she ends up at a position where she is about to plunge a dagger into her true love's heart and kill him as he proposes, and... She does break it herself. She breaks the curse. She had it within her the whole time. There's really nothing that sets that up other than her being told, you've got to be able to do this. But nothing that says that it would be possible to do. But she does. And it leaves both in the mind of how and yes. So because it also leaves you so happy when she does, she herself is like, how? So she's, if you as the audience are like, how did she manage that? I give it a pass because she herself is like, how did I manage this? As she breaks down, yay, the curse is broken and is hauled away, only to be saved by the friends she's made along her journey. Again, this is a simplified way of saying it. Light musical, wonderful acting, beautiful design. Definitely its own style, but beautiful. Silly and fun. Leaves you feeling happy at the end of the day. And there are days I just need to be feeling happy at the end of the day, so I'm going to take it. So, that's probably me rambling on about Ella Enchanted here in my... I called it a home review. I came up with that after filming the last couch review. I was like, I just call it a home review until I get a couch. Do recommend. Fun movie. Does require a little bit of suspension of disbelief. But I enjoyed it. Otherwise, I don't know. I'm gonna do editing and whatever else tonight. This is about it for me. Thank you for joining me and join me as my journey continues.